Welcome to today's episode of the Group X podcast. I'm your host, Tony Zanato. And if you haven't yet done so, hit that follow button so you never miss another episode. Today, I'll be talking to Andrew Taylor, a previous trainer and presenter for Les Mills Asia Pacific. Andrew shares his experience as an instructor right through to head program coach for Grit Series when it first arrived here in Australia. So grab your favourite beverage, sit back and enjoy the show. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me on the show, mate. I appreciate your time and your energy, and I know that I'm going to enjoy your stories that you're about to tell us on how you got into the fitness industry. So, mate, thank you.
No problems at all. Good to be here, ready for a chat.
Yes, good to catch up as well. It's been a bit long since I've seen your face, so it's nice to visually see you. Even though we chat quite a fair bit on the phone, it's nice to see you in person as well, mate. I want to kick off and get our listeners to understand, or get my listeners to understand, how you got into the fitness industry. Where did it all begin for you?
Well, I guess like most, it stemmed from an interest in sport as a youngster. Played rugby league growing up on the Central Coast of New South Wales. Did nippers, did athletics, so was sort of always very keen and strong interest in sport. And then life took me up to North Queensland, where I got into triathlons, and that was a very big part of my life for a number of years. And I met someone doing triathlons. Her name was Kathy Baird, and she was looking after a gym in Townsville. It was a sort of a Life Be In It community gym. Yep. And we used to train together doing triathlons, and she started managing this fitness facility. And she just sort of asked for my help to come along and set up for her circuit classes, and then I'd participate in the circuit classes and help pack up afterwards.
Excellent.
So I guess the initial fitness center start of my journey was up in Townsville in a very sweaty, non-air conditioned circuit style fitness center in North Queensland.
What age were you at this? What age were you?
I would have been 17.
Okay, so fairly young. So straight out of school type stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. So when did you teach your first class? Was it circuit style class, or what did you teach? What was your first class that you went down to teach?
No, my first class to teach would have been a number of years after. It would have been a Les Mills class. So I trained in RPM. I can't remember the year, to be honest. It was probably somewhere around the early 2000s.
Okay. Yep.
It was release 16, if that means anything.
Yeah.
Early 2000s. And then I probably taught my first class. I'd say probably 2002. My first Les Mills program would have been RPM. So.
Yep. So I think I've skipped ahead a little bit there with your timeline of what was going on. I think I've cut you gone, 17. So here we go now, 2003. Hang on a second. What did you do in between? I should go back and let's answer that properly. What did you do in between Townsville and your RPM class? Give us a little bit of background around that. Sorry.
Fitness wise, or
fitness wise, and I suppose with the triathlon stuff. Give us a bit more info around that.
Yes. So, triathlon stuff, I sort of stopped competing in triathlons when I moved back to Sydney. So I spent a number of years up in Townsville competing in triathlons, and I moved back to Sydney again in the early 2000s. Yep. So it probably would have been about year 2000. And that's when I fairly quickly got back into fitness, but it was in health clubs as opposed to sort of out doing triathlons. So Sydney work life and lifestyle just didn't really lend itself to spending a lot of time out on bikes and running. Yeah. So spent more time in the gym.
Can I ask you a quick question around triathlons and training for a triathlon in Townsville, where it's so damn hot? It's not funny. How was that experience of doing that? How did you manage that? That to me, that baffles my head. Yeah, and in knowing the energy and effort that goes into training for a triathlon, but yet doing it in that heat, that's some mental challenge that you've got to go through every time you're out training.
It probably is now that you put it that way, but I never thought about it that way, to be honest.
Yep.
It was, the climate up there was just something that you lived in and you dealt with, and
Yep.
You didn't really sort of adjust your interests and activities too much to the climate. You just,
got on with it.
I mean, it's, I was in a squad and had great friendships and relationships with that squad. So if I wasn't working, I was training, and if I wasn't training, I was hanging out with my training squad.
Yep.
And that was sort of life. We were traveling all through Queensland doing races and having a really cool time. So.
Yep. So what brought you down to Sydney from Townsville? What was it that made you want to come back?
Oh, look, I mean, Sydney was always home. So it was, it was sort of the time in my life where career was leading me back to a capital city.
Yes.
So it was work and career and, chasing those bigger opportunities, I guess.
Yep.
Sweet. Which brought me back down to Sydney. So, I ended up coming back down to Sydney, moving to sort of the North Shore area. And that's sort of where I am. When I took an interest in getting trained in Les Mills programs and developing that career.
This is the Group X podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I jumped in and I was doing RPM classes as a participant, and I mean, it was clearly the bike was a comfortable fit and something I really enjoyed doing, and the convenience of being in a studio or weather conditions and time restrictions, and RPM was the natural fit, and I made a few connections with gym instructors who, of course, sort of dropped the comments of, oh, you should become an instructor, and one thing led to the next, and that's what started that journey.
Okay. Who was your initial module trainer for RPM? Who did you train?
It was Michelle Bridges.
Okay. Yep.
So we did training at Balmain Fitness.
Yes.
On release 16.
Yep.
And I was quite lucky because I was living around the area, and post module training, I did most of my team teaching with Michelle in Balmain Fitness.
Brilliant. A good mentor to have.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very soon after I got my first class in Balmain Fitness, and off I went.
Excellent.
So, it was my instructor journey was all quite quite quick, and it was quite accelerated, and I was on a timetable against the likes of Shannon Cleary and Michelle Bridges, Alani Marla, all teaching at Balmain. So I was learning off national trainers and presenters. I was sort of trying to prove my worth in their space with members that had very high expectations being taught by those guys. So kind of just it forced the development very, very quickly.
Yep. Take me on the journey on your initial module training. What track did you get? Can you remember?
Yes, I got track 3. So I got Hills.
Yep.
As my first track, and I think we got 2 tracks back then. I think I got the mountain climb also.
Okay.
Track 7. I think I got 2 big ones. Yeah.
Yep. Did you nail them? Did you screw them up? What did you do?
No, I screwed them up.
Yep.
I screwed them up, but I think potential was there. So I got helped along the way, but it was it was all very to be honest, the whole structure and Les Mills thing was all very new to me. Yep. I'd helped with some circuit classes, which had a bit of a plan around it, but was very much I guess freestyle driven. But the whole sort of systemized approach, although I thought it was a very good way to learn, it was something that I had to sort of put time into to do well, I guess. So
very foreign from the background you come from.
That's right. Yeah, just I probably underestimated the level of systematic approach that was in the classes, like probably all of us were when we first went to initial training. So it took me, took me a little while to wrap my head around it.
Yep. Cool. What was your next program after RPM? Where did the journey take you?
Well, it was pretty closely followed by body pump.
Yep.
I think I was trained on body pump 37.
Wow.
I think.
Wow, man.
I think.
That's early stuff.
Yeah. I could be wrong. Maybe it was 42. But for some reason, 37 sticks out.
Yep.
But it was somewhere around there. And I can't remember what track.
Yep.
I have no idea.
Yep. Who was your trainer?
Probably the squat track.
Who's your trainer?
Richard Kenner. Kenner.
I don't think I remember him. I think that's obviously before my time.
Yeah. No, he was. He'd been around for a long time, but yeah, he probably stepped out of it a couple of years after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. And what? Let me ask you this question because I only reflect on my first pump class that I taught, which was dismal. The only way I can describe it. Absolute dismal. How was your first pump class? How was that experience? And not when you were shadowing, by yourself. What was going through your mind 5 minutes before that class and while you're up on stage?
I think my first pump class, from what I recall, was actually a very good experience.
Yep.
Far better than my first solo RPM class, and I think that's probably due to obviously having been trained in RPM first, having a better understanding of the coaching models and the systems. So the level of confidence that came through teaching pump for the first time, although I guess much more of a complex program compared to RPM. I recall that being a very good experience.
Yep. Good. And was that at Balmain as well?
That was at Balmain. It was a cover on a Sunday afternoon, if I recall.
That's a peak time slot, if I'm correct, for back in the day.
No, it was like Sunday afternoon, 4:00 or something like that. So,
right. So wasn't huge.
No, that's right. I think it was the first class I was offered as a ongoing class too.
Yep. We'll stick him on that and see how he goes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Sunday afternoon. Yeah, what could go wrong?
I remember those days of when I first started being offered. It was, to be honest, it was the first class I covered was the shittest class on the timetable. And, you've got to start somewhere, don't you? You've got to, your training wheels are on and, you get in there and you do whatever you can because you want to do something with it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was quite lucky. I got an RPM class in a fairly peak time slot. It was it might have been a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. So, I sort of got good exposure to the members for RPM on a peak time slot, which, kind of felt okay.
Yep.
For body pump to be the sort of less peak time slot, if you like. I kind of thought that was okay, and I could spend my time sort of developing in that time slot. So.
Yeah. Cool. And what was next? So you're RPM'd, you're pumped. How many programs are you trained in, by the way?
I don't know. Pump, RPM, balance, body vibe, CX Works, grit, sprint, body attack, body step. No dance classes. Quite a few. Yeah. No dance and no combat.
Okay. So Step's in there as well.
Step.
Wow.
Actually, Step was program 3. Step
really?
Was program 3. How could I forget? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, body step. Yeah.
The first time I ever went into a step class was a freestyle step class with Amanda Breen, and I twisted my ankle before the class even started. I had the step,
those
no rises.
Steps leading into the studio.
No, it wasn't those ones. I'd set a step up. It was just the step without any rises, and there was some music playing, and I'd met Amanda obviously through doing my RPM training with her, and I just thought, okay, yeah, I'll step up and step over, and went to step back, and down I went like a sack of suds, and mate, it was all over. I don't think I ever stepped foot into a step room or a step class ever again. But yes, so step for you, what was it? Was it a requirement, not a requirement, that's not the right word I want to use. Was it a need for the club to have more step instructors, or was it something that you thought, hey, hang on a second, I want to give this a shot. I want to give step a go?
No, I saw step as a really good, probably my challenge program.
Yep.
You know, complexity, choreography level. I saw it as the program I felt I had to do to really earn my stripes as a group fitness instructor, is being able to deliver a program with that level of coordination.
Yep.
So yeah, I gave body step a good crack and taught it for probably 12 months.
Yep.
Before I realized that it was just, that was sort of way before we were talking about the essence of programs. So,
yes. Yep.
I was delivering these step classes like like a raging bull, and realized pretty quickly, although we didn't have anything to wrap around it in terms of program essence, that I just wasn't the right fit.
You weren't. Yep.
So gracefully stepped out of body step. But it did everything that it was actually really good for in terms of again being able to deliver that complex program and higher level of choreography. So I did enjoy it for a period of time.
Yep.
But just realized I wasn't doing the program justice.
Yeah. This is the Group X podcast. How did the opportunity to become a trainer or presenter pop up, and which one was first, or were they both in line with each other? Was it trainer first or is it presenter first? And how did that opportunity present itself to you?
Well, back in those days, you kind of Les Mills Asia Pacific conducted boot camps when they had a need for trainers and presenters in different programs. Yep. And you got referred or invited to those boot camps from being recommended by trainers who you'd been exposed to in some way, shape or form, or who knew of you, or so forth. So the opportunity came about. I was working at Fitness First North Sydney.
Yep.
And Fitness First Bondi Platinum, I think it was. So Shannon Cleary was the GFM of North Sydney. So and Pete Manuel was the GFM of Bondi Platinum. So there was a boot camp coming up, and I got referred to that boot camp and endorsed by both of those, both Shannon and Pete. Yep. And kind of got the call from Kylie Gates back in the day of heading down to Canberra for National Trainer and Presenter Boot Camp.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, and although I had an idea, I still didn't really grasp fully what that meant.
Yep.
It wasn't something I was particularly chasing or had aspired to.
Yes.
It was something that I thought that sounds like a great opportunity.
Yep.
And I'm invited, so I'm going to give it everything I can. But I didn't really have a full grasp of what that could mean in terms of future opportunities and sort of where it took me in the end. So,
awesome.
I naively went.
Right. I love that. How was that experience?
When I walked into the room, Kylie Gates was the main training facilitator, but Karen Russell was also there, and Tommy Kutz-Nicholas was there.
Yes. Yep.
They were the three facilitators of this boot camp. And pretty quickly I realized this is quite a elite opportunity that I've been invited to, and it was sort of quite quickly walking in. I started to realize probably what an opportunity that's been presented to me, and that was probably the first instance of me getting a little nervous about it.
Yep.
But luckily, I think everyone else was nervous too. So in terms of the peer support there, it was really good. It was really quite good. But it was kind of nerve wracking.
Yep. Cool. How did it go? Did you make it after that first?
Yeah, I did.
You did? Yep.
Yeah, I did. So the first thing I had to present. So the way that boot camps ran back then is you presented um, tracks in a class,
Yep.
and you also presented module content as if you were conducting a module. So you had sections out of the module that you were presenting. But first up was delivering tracks for RPM, and I'll never forget Karen Russell was sort of leading the feedback sessions to that. And the feedback was really quite positive, and I had a great experience and felt I did well in my tracks, and
Yep.
that was really good. Then it came to delivering module content, and it was kind of an odd situation to be in, because you're delivering module content to your peers who are also there,
Yes.
waiting for their turn to deliver their module content. So it's
Yeah.
a bit of a false environment, if you like.
Yep.
But yeah, again, I think my naivety to the situation helped me,
Yep.
and I did the best I can with the level of experience that I had, and it was a 2-day event.
Yep.
And at the end of the second day, I was congratulated that I'll be progressing further.
Excellent.
And
well done.
That's where the journey began.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love hearing that, because it's, I suppose it's, even though I've known you for many years, that I've never asked you that. I've never known that journey from you. And I as you were saying that, then I'm picturing it in my head and like, okay, yep, I know Canberra. I lived there for 5 years. Cool. Yeah. Okay. But walking into an environment with a lot of the people that you mentioned that I'm aware of as well, even for me, that would be daunting, and not even going in there for the reason you were, but I can picture and imagine how you would have felt walking into that environment and seeing you do what you did. Yeah, mate, well done. That's gold. I love hearing that as well. It's everyone's got a backstory. Everyone's got a story of what they went through and how they got to where they are and what they're doing. So I think thanks for sharing that. I think it's great.
Yeah. No, it's fond memories when I think back
Yep.
when I think back to it. But I probably wish I'd have gone in knowing a little bit more than I did on the opportunity that had sort of been presented to me.
Yeah. Yep. So you get the tick. You're on your way. Yep. Obviously, I understand that you, like with all training modules, you shadow or you do bits and pieces as you're training up with somebody else. So you're presenting parts of the module and getting your feet, so to speak. How was that first initial module you did? And did anything fuck up? Did anything go wrong, or did it go well? Like, how was that experience? How was that? Tell us about your first module that you did.
Well, look, in true style, in line with my journey, that went quite quick.
Yep.
So I think I only had the opportunity to shadow or co-present with Michelle in modules twice.
Yep.
And then I was doing my own module in Tasmania 2 weeks after that. So
wow.
It was fast.
Yeah,
really fast. And again, it helped in terms of accelerate the development.
You obviously have a skill set, and they saw that back then as well, that you were confident enough to get in there and do it, and you knew how to handle yourself, and you knew your stuff. Even though it was very short, they could obviously see something in you that, even if you might not have seen it yourself, because they're not going to send you on something that if you don't have a skill set. They're not going to send you on something where they're going to go, oh shit, this could be, oh Christ. They're going to go, you know what? No, Andrew, go for it. We've got faith in you, and we've got trust in you to know that, you can do this.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a case of as long as the preparation was there.
Yep.
They're confident that I obviously could have delivered the experience the way it needed to be delivered. So, but my first module was a little one in Tasmania, so a nice one to cut my teeth in.
Yep.
And how it went, it went quite well. It was in a new club, and I just can't recall whether it was Launceston or Hobart, but it was a new club, sort of half an hour out of either Launceston or Hobart, and I just remember it was winter and it was snowing out. It was it snowed. Jesus. Yeah, really bizarre. So quite a strange weather event, but but yeah, it was a small group of, I think, about 10
Yep.
trainees going through, and yeah, it was actually really, again, a really good experience. And the 2 weeks leading up to it, I prepared like crazy. So, if anyone had looked in my facilitation manuals and saw all the post-it notes and all the all the prompters I had leading into it, it would have been quite amusing.
Yep.
But again, that preparation got me through.
Did you get any curly questions thrown at you that you were like, no, shit, how do I, oh my God, am I answering this properly? Or did any of that happen? Or was it, everyone was pretty cool and it went with ease?
Yeah, it was, again, I think because it was RPM and, so much time on the bike and coming from that triathlon background, I could bring a lot of that into RPM. So, it really was just, spending time working through the coaching models back then and the instructors understanding that. And that's a very two-way street, if you like, obviously presenting the modules and getting the trainees to explore it and then giving them feedback on that. So, so, the technical aspect and the physical execution that we used to call it, the key element of physical execution back then. I felt very confident in delivering, and the coaching model sort of, more time was spent with them making sure that was sort of being delivered. So it was all in all, it was a very positive experience. It wasn't really until I was delivering body pump modules that you started to get the curly questions coming through.
Okay. Yep. The I want to ask you about body pump, but before we go down there, with the training back then, was it you were a trainer and a presenter, or trainer or presenter? So is it you were both, or was it one or the other?
There were trainers and presenters, and there were also presenters only. So again, I hadn't indicated whether I had a preference to do either, but I pretty quickly realized that I really enjoyed delivering initial module training. So it was kind of a given that if you were a trainer, you were obviously also a presenter. And some may have opted just to do the presenting side of things. For a number of reasons, but modules took a huge amount of preparation to be able to facilitate, and you could say that some had more of an inclination to present and not deliver module content.
What for you, what did you enjoy more, the presenting side of it or the training side of it?
No, training by far.
Training side.
Yeah, if I had the opportunity to do a module somewhere or to do a quarterly workshop, I'd always take the module.
Okay. Can I ask why?
Yeah, I think the level of personal satisfaction I got from module trainings and seeing growth across, well, we were doing 22 people back then. Large number of trainees, and seeing that and spending two full days, 3 days with them. Just kind of filled my bucket a bit more than presenting for 2 hours at a quarterly workshop.
No, I like hearing that. I mean, obviously, as you know, the roles with Les Mills that I had as well, meeting a lot of trainers and presenters, and it's nice to hear why people did what they did or do what they do. I mean zero disrespect to anyone out there that is just a presenter and not a trainer. There are some that I have encountered in the years being out there that are, I believe, in it for the show pony only. And nothing against that. It's each person has different reasons why they want to do things and why they're into doing things. And I like hearing that people do things not only for a selfish reason, as in I want people to love me, I need people to look at me and see all that kind of, like social media is done to us these days, and I've got to post something so people like me. Yeah, great. But it's that whole, you're doing it because you get something out of it while giving something to other people. You're not what I class as a Pavarotti. Yeah, the me, check me out, all that kind of shit. It's you are in it. You did it for what I class as the right reasons for what I believe in and what majority of people believe in. You did it because you had a passion and you enjoyed helping other people do and share your passion.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think it probably comes down to sort of where I fit more naturally. And, if you kind of think about the exertainment factor, and, big quarterly workshops and so forth, and having that, really bringing that, we used to call it performance as a key element. Key element number 5 used to be performance. I always sat sort of more strongly in the first 3 key elements of, choreography, physical execution and coaching. And that was sort of where I'd like to spend more of my time. So, again, that just linked to facilitating modules, because that was sort of the bulky part of the content, if you like, was in the first 3. So
maybe my statement back then about the Pavarottis was a bit harsh. It's more there's probably people that are presenters that are more in the fitness magic. That's probably the better way for me to probably phrase that, because I'm guaranteed that right now I've pissed some listeners off, but it's more getting my head around that to sort of go, no, okay, you're not a Pavarotti, you're not in it for the wrong reasons, you are just better at fitness magic than you might have been in the other stuff that's in there. So,
maybe we can do some editing on that.
No, I'll leave that in there because it's a big cackle for anyone. So. This is the Group X podcast.
Yeah, that's kind of where I saw it, and it was it was really cool. But at the same time, don't get me wrong, I loved getting up on those big stages and sharing it with some of the greats, that really do bring that exertainment factor alive. And looking out and seeing, back then quarterly workshops were all super workshops. So you'd have 100 people in front of you at a small one. So it was it was really powerful to see that key element, and probably again sort of one of the main factors that sort of forced me to develop that more as I went through and became, I guess, a stronger presenter at the same time. Which, when it's not your natural skill, is takes as much effort and requirement as some of the other key elements. So.
Yeah. So RPM, you're a trainer, you're a presenter. Pump, you were a trainer, presenter. Were you a trainer, presenter for any others as well?
Later down the line, I was CX Works, Grit Series, and Sprint. In towards the end of the journey.
Yep. And what out of the programs that you were trainers and presenters in, which would have been your favourite by far? Making
it's
you
like
choose.
Choosing your favourite child. That's a very hard question.
We've all got one. I mean, I've only got one child, so she's my favourite anyway. But we've all got a favourite. Which was your favourite?
Oh, look, I think if I had to put a label on one of them, it would definitely have been the Grit series.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. When we first launched Grit, we launched Grit in Australia in around 2012, I think it was.
Yep.
With Grit Strength first.
Yep.
And that was a program that really, really lit my fitness fire. And I really loved that we still were working within a system, but we were breaking the rules at the same time.
Yes.
I loved that we were the delinquent program.
Yep.
The ones breaking the rules.
Yep.
But at the same time, we were bringing this new concept, new program. So that was a really exciting time in my trainer and presenter career. Yeah. Really exciting.
I remember the energy around when we did it in the office at Active Leisure Centre, I think it was.
Yeah.
In Moriasa. I'd been at the company for a week. I think it happened on my first week there, and I was like, yeah, cool. I've done RPM, I've done Pump, but this was something that, my goodness, just, I'm going to say tore me a new one, but that's probably not the correct phrase to use here. But it wrecked me. It seriously wrecked me. It was an amazing program, and I still think it is an amazing program. It's something that was so different in that group exercise space, and I think that's you've nailed it. You were given an amazing opportunity to launch it in the country and take it somewhere. That's huge. They obviously, they saw something in you as well as you seeing something in that program to go, you know what, yeah, this is mine. I'm rolling with this. And that's
that was so sort of for all new programs that came out, we followed the same sort of system from the current presenter and trainer and presenter team that you were invited to a boot camp for that particular program, and again you were delivering tracks and you were delivering module content, and we were lucky enough to have Bryce from New Zealand, Bryce Hastings, deliver the exercise science around HIIT training in our boot camp. And we had Les Jr. who sort of created the program and was rolling it out internationally at our boot camp. So again, it was an opportunity to get really close to the source, and it was a very exciting time.
I recall that was at Fitness First North Sydney.
Yes, it was. Yes,
that was when I was GFMing there, and I remember letting you guys in on a weekend to actually do that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow, I'd completely forgotten
something
about
for
that.
your listeners.
Yes,
something for your listeners that I again, great opportunity afforded to me. I was presenting the exercise science section of Grit Series to my peers and Bryce, which for your listeners who know Bryce could know how
holy shit
intimidating that was.
Was that at that boot camp?
Yeah, so that was at that boot camp. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mate, well done. So, I sound shocked, and I know I shouldn't sound shocked because I know you, but there's so much of this shit which in the years that we've been mates and I've known you, I haven't been aware of this kind of stuff. That stuff is huge. To be given those opportunities and do that kind of stuff, mate, I feel that I owe you. Take me back, 2012 when we started working at Les Mills together. I think I owe you more respect than what I've shown you. It's like, wow.
I often used to tell you that, but you just never gave it to me.
Whatever. Shut up.
That's why I destroyed you in classes.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, thanks very much.
Tore you a new one.
This is the Group X podcast. Think back on your journey and your time spent as a trainer and presenter. What would the highlight of your time be?
Oh, big question.
Yep.
Big question. There are many. And it's my journey lasted for about 14 or 15 years as a trainer and presenter.
Okay. So when you say there are many, I now understand what you mean. That's a lot of time to be in that position and have done many things. So is there anything that stands out? Is there anything that you remember and go, you know what? Yeah, this was awesome.
Look, I think sort of a period of time training and presenting in Southeast Asia. Spent almost 5 years living in Southeast Asia, and during that time presenting modules and quarterly workshops over there. So I think having the opportunity to travel to many destinations and deliver initial module trainings to very different markets and a very different, very different instructors across different cultures and also different languages.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. I was going to bring up then that the language barrier would have been not a struggle, because it's not the right word, a challenge in itself, because if English isn't a first language, that's really hard for them to really get across what you're trying to teach them or trying to present to them. That's wow.
Yeah, well, we actually had interpreters. So yeah, as an example, I'd go to Korea and deliver a initial module training, and I'd have an interpreter that would deliver the content in Korean.
That's not only hard for you, but hard for them. That's
wow. I mean, they the interpreters became very familiar with our module content, and quite often they were they were in the fitness industry.
Yep.
So obviously they understood anatomy and so forth. But yeah, it was. But the instructing was for the most part done in English.
Yep.
So the trainees would deliver the content in English.
Yep.
But yeah, that was a really cool experience, and it was cool for lots of reasons, different cultures, and seeing the programs and fitness, across different cultures was really cool. But yeah, I think also just spending time connecting with a lot of different people, and it felt that the reach was reaching further, if you like, from that experience. And in a lot of instances, instructors are full-time in Asia, and they're extremely passionate, and it's not necessarily the teaching, it's not the side hustle, if you like, it's their career. So that was really cool. Time in Southeast Asia was a real highlight of mine. And probably, as I mentioned before, having the opportunity, when launching Grit, I was also the head program coach for that program. And I think that stands out as a highlight for being able to develop a team of trainers and presenters. So again, it was sort of the next level of Les Mills facilitation, if you like, for selecting, developing, and signing off new trainers and presenters in that program. That was a real highlight. Kind of felt like it fully completed the Les Mills journey for me.
Through that journey and through the years that you've done everything, and from an instructor to a trainer to a presenter to head program coach, if you were to give any bit of advice, or I'm going to ask you, can you give some advice to any listeners that may want to follow that path and follow that journey that you went down? What advice would you give them, if any?
What advice would I give? I probably have given advice to people who have asked me that question along the way many, many times. I think the system's set up very differently now, where I think it's set up better in a way that there can be professional progression. There's advanced trainings, and there's the criteria to achieve that goal, if for instructors that are looking to achieve that, is quite set out quite clearly now. So what I would say is, if that's a goal of theirs, is to understand what's required. Get intimately knowledgeable in what's required and apply themselves. And it almost comes down to the good old saying, the 10,000 hour rule. Like, you really do have to apply yourself and master your craft to sort of achieve those goals at that level. And then on the back of that, there needs to be the opportunity. So I guess when preparation and opportunity, when, it sounds cliche, but when those two meet, and you've got the right attitude and motivators, to sort of go down that, to be picked for that journey, then I think that's would be my key advice, would be to apply themselves, understand what's involved, and let it be known, and sort of head down that journey.
Cool, mate. Thank you for that. Thank you for your advice on there, and thank you for, as I said at the beginning, but thank you for spending some time with me and having a chat and sharing your journey and your story as a professional in the industry that has been around for a very long time, and everything you've done, mate. I thank you. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for having a chat. It's great.
No problems. Enjoyed it very much.